here's what I'm trying to get you to do. I know you've done this butterfly turnaround before, this thing. Do you remember this? I'm trying to get back to that, right? So you're getting here, but you're not, what's happening is you're going like this instead of doing the figure eight. You have to remember to do a figure eight. It's a figure eight. You're an underhand butterfly, flip the left one out and hold it there. Now turn to the side, just turn to the side. As soon as you flip it, turn to the side. And what I want you to do is get accustomed to doing the flips as you turn. So as soon as you turn toward the front, you're gonna flip the right one up and over the top to go into the overhand butterfly, right? So come back to here, and they're both hitting the bottom of the turn at the same time. So you're gonna turn and flip, turn and then flip the right hand up and over. And then turn and flip. Now let's turn toward the back wall from the side and bring the left hand into the underhand. So you come into underhand butterfly with the left on top. I think there's multiple things happening. One is you're not sure which direction you're in when you're in the butterfly. So here's how you determine the direction. If you start it by coming up the middle, that is coming from underhand. So that's underhand opposite, right? If you start it by going over the top, yes, over the top, that's overhand, okay? So if at the top of the move, the poi look like they're coming in toward each other, that's overhand. If they look like they're going out, that's underhand. So getting accustomed to the direction, I think, is one huge stepping stone for where you're at right now. I think you're gonna need a little bit of time with that. Okay, then the second thing that was going on was as you were turning into your underhand butterfly, you sometimes were taking your left hand underneath like this, which was working for you sometimes, and sometimes on top like this. So you should make a decision which one you're gonna use and then practice that one so you have that strength. I think that's also useful. The third thing was, it seems like this was just a new thing in general, was you getting comfortable with turning while the poi stays still. And then turning while the poi are in opposite direction and they stay still is an even more complicated version of it. And then, well, it is, and then keeping your poi close enough to your body so that you have control of them, and then noticing when they start going wonky. So I think there's just a lot of different factors there. I like to say there's like 3 different levels when you're learning the move, because you can know the move, but that doesn't mean that you can transition in and out of the move. Right? So like if you're right there and you're like, oh, I can do an underhand butterfly, no problem. I can do an overhand butterfly, no problem. But transitioning is another whole thing. And to make it even more complicated, transitioning while you're turning is another whole thing, because you have the momentum of your body as well as the momentum of your body affecting the poi that are already moving to do the transition. So you're just learning next level skills, even though it may seem like it's the same thing, it isn't. So I wanna make sure that's clear. I wanna make sure that you know what to work on in those particular things. The thing I would say might be the most useful drills, and you probably wanna do this in both opposite directions. Today, we did it with right overhand, left underhand, practicing turning the 180 degree like this. I think this drill is going to be really useful for helping you clarify and trying to maintain control. If you're struggling with it, you can move up against a wall, and one of the poi will be against the wall as you're turning, and you'll know if it messes up because it'll hit the wall. And then you'll want to do its companion. So we didn't do this today, where the left hand is overhand and the right hand is underhand, but the same drill where you're moving from side to side through the full 180 degree motion, trying to keep the poi as close to you as possible without flipping the wrist to go down low. So that's a big one. So if I show you from the side, left underhand, right overhand. If I turn quickly and then turn back and turn quickly and turn back, that's much easier to maintain than this. And the longer I do this, the more likely my backhand is Yeah, or my backhand is to glide here, right? Because it's harder to maintain for a longer period of time. Then I think next, which would be useful, is doing all 4 versions of this chest high transition. So there's 2 with the left hand, 1 in underhand, and 1 in overhand. And then there's 2 with the right, 1 in overhand, and 1 in underhand. So I think those will be really useful for this turnaround because you're really close. It's just getting all the pieces together. And then the next step is practicing, because we are working on butterflies, the butterfly turnaround here, practicing doing the takeout at the chest and keeping the hand palm up. Because if you remember when we started the class, you were doing this, coming down low, not at the chest, right? So you were coming down here instead of here. So practicing doing it at the chest. So, and both hands in both directions. So not just from underhand, but from overhand as well, because you need that when you're doing the turnaround. The turnaround is really simple, but it's got a lot of moving parts, literally.